Please take your seats. The program is about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program is about to start.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. I think I need to get closer to this mic. I don't want to move it. So welcome to the 2025 Each Moment Matters Luncheon. My name is Diane Fullingham, and I'm the Executive Director of the Forefront Living Foundation. This year marks the 16th anniversary of this wonderful luncheon. So today's the 16th, and it's the 16th anniversary. So there must be something in those numbers that are auspicious, let's just put it that way. So, when we heard from the Anatole last fall that we were able to have this luncheon on October 16th, we were just so excited. We were like, October 16th, it'll be cool. And so it's not, but really, we're all just, in our summer clothes still. But we are just happy to have you here today. And other than the weather being warmer than we'd like, this has been an amazing, amazing year planning this event, and things could not have gone more beautifully. I want to thank. Okay, Tim, say it. Gimlet. Okay, thank you. I always get emotional, so y'all know me. Melissa, Cheryl, thank you. I think you kicked that off for me way back. But anyway, Laura and Susan Ferris, oh my goodness, what an amazing job they have done for us today. So I just want to thank them for their graciousness and their guidance and their support and everything that they have done to make this event so beautiful and wonderful. It really, it's just been a great experience, and I just wanted to thank both of them. They're over here at this table, right there. Thank you. Thank you. And then I also want to recognize and thank Robin and Don Conlin. They are our 2025 honorary chairs, and they have been longtime supporters of Faith Presbyterian Hospice. So we really appreciate all the love and support they've given us through the years. And Robin and Don, would you like to stand up so everyone can applaud you? Thank you. Thank you. And then I want to recognize the amazing Forefront Living Foundation team. Sarah Jones, Lisa Wisenhunt, Kaylin Bean, and Rose Donahue. Sorry, y'all. They are amazing, and they did such a beautiful job, diligently, just working so hard, hours and hours, and we truly would not be able to pull this off without their work. I'd also like to thank all of our sponsors and guests today. Thank you for the support that you give us and your dedication to providing compassionate and dignified care to people from all walks of life. It's so deeply appreciated. So I know you're eager to, get on with this and see me get off the stage. So I just want to introduce Denise Odom, Reverend Denise Odom. Reverend Odom is the Assisted Living Community Relations Director at Presbyterian Village North. That's a big title and a big responsibility, and she does an amazing job with our patients in assisted living. So, Reverend Odom, I like to call her Denise. Please. Okay. Oh gosh, beautiful. Okay. All right. I'm just going to stand back here to the side.
Good afternoon. If you'll pause for a moment and join with me in prayer. God of all creation and God of eternal grace, we gather in this beautiful place full of laughter, conversation, hope, and community to pause and say thank you. Holy God, we thank you for all who have worked tirelessly to bring this event to fruition for the benefit of others. We thank you for the generous hearts and caring hands of so many in our lives and in our communities. Today, O Lord, we gather with hearts that are strengthened because of your love and the love of others. When the rivers of grief and struggle threaten to overwhelm us, you were there. In times of tragedy, loss, and grief, We are constantly reminded of your presence by those you have sent into our lives. Today we ask your blessing on all those who have been that point of light, that point of grace to someone who is hurting. We ask your continued blessing on Faith Presbyterian Hospice and all of those who become your hands, your voice, and your heart to those who face the end of life and for those who face living without someone they love. Lord, the grace we experience in these moments helps us to each keep going. Today we ask your blessing. Bless our time here together. Bless the stories that we share, the food that we eat, the conversations that we have, and the gifts that are given. Bless us and make us more open to living as you have asked us to live. Bless us and inspire us to live, loving you and loving others. In the name of the one who is the beginning and end of all things, we pray. Amen. This way.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, guys. All right. My name is Jason Whiteley. I'm a reporter for WFAA here in town. I cover politics, and we have a couple political programs, Y'all-itics Political Podcast and the Inside Texas Politics program. Considering the state of politics today, it was certainly nice to step away and return to be with you guys here this afternoon. But besides politics over the years, I've also covered a lot of different stories with Forefront Living at Presbyterian Village North, at the different entities that they operate there. And the work is inspiring, it's impactful to residents, to patients, their families, and most of all, it's a gem here in the North Texas community. I don't have to tell you guys that. You know that or you wouldn't be here today. So please enjoy your meal here as I go through a few of the highlights that Faith Presbyterian Hospice provides. As you know, for 22 years now, Faith Presbyterian Hospice has delivered compassionate, dignified, and high-quality end-of-life care to patients in their homes. And it was 8 years ago when they expanded and opened the T. Boone Pickens Hospice Center, the first standalone hospice center in Dallas. And today it still provides 24/7 hospice care, professional hospice care for some of the most medically complex and vulnerable patients here in DFW and those who come in from beyond as well. And that's the reason we're here today. This luncheon benefits the Faith Caring Fund. It provides for programs like music and massage therapy, grief support for children, and compassionate care for patients who don't have the financial resources. Your generosity last year was astounding. And every time I read these stats, they are phenomenal to me. But proceeds from last year's luncheon, listen to this. It provided for 1,324 days of charitable care for unfunded patients to be there. More than 1,600 therapeutic massage sessions, 792 music therapy sessions, and then grief support to 489 children whose family members were there. So this specialized and exceptional care offered by Faith and by the T. Boone Pickens Hospice Center is truly remarkable. So we want to take a moment here and highlight the difference that your generosity makes and why your ongoing support is so important here this afternoon. Your partnership makes a difference not just to our patients, but to our families as well. I want you to watch this video.
Hi, my name is Sarah Jones, Philanthropy Officer at the Forefront Living Foundation. I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. Your support of the Each Moment Matters Luncheon benefits programs like our Child and Family Bereavement Center. Every grieving child in DFW is eligible to receive bereavement support without ever receiving a bill because of your generosity. I want you to take a moment to listen to Finley and Harper and their father Justin as they explain the impact of your gift. Thank you.
I loved how her name is Tiffany and her favorite color is Tiffany blue.
That's my favorite color, sponsored by her.
Yes.
You know, it was unexpected, really, and we found ourselves in this position, and I knew that they needed some kind of support.
I would describe her strong, amazing, like the best, and very nice and kind.
Loved and loving.
We couldn't be more grateful to have these things, and I'll always say that having that little bit of normalcy kind of like put us back on the right path and kind of saved us because we were going along totally rudderless and without direction for a while there. So.
I like learning how to cope and how to deal with my emotions whenever I have them.
That's what I was gonna say. I like how people understand what I've been going through, and that we can communicate with anybody and it's a safe place.
It really took a lot of the burden off on those nights. It was come to a nice place where you felt safe and seen and heard, and I knew my kids were taken care of, and immediately they were at an age where they really enjoyed coming, and I could tell they were getting a lot out of it.
You should always talk to an adult if you're feeling sad, and you should tell people, and then you could you could get a hug if you need it, and it's okay to cry if you need to. It's okay to be sad, and we can make friends, and I would like to get to know more about you and who you lost.
As Harper and Finley you saw there, they're among the children, the 489 children that got the grief support available last year, and they never receive a bill, and that is thanks to the generosity here in this room over the last 12 months. So thank you so much for that. In addition, yeah, absolutely. And that's just one aspect of it too, the grief support for children. In addition, there's music therapy, massage therapy, there's pet therapy, and all of the programs are known as the Faith Difference, and they're entirely funded by donors, and they're what make the end-of-life care compassionate, dignified, and gentle. So as you arrived today, you saw a program on your seat there, and inside you're going to find brief bios of this year's honorees here, details about Faith Presbyterian Hospice, and a special message from our mother-daughter co-chairs that Diane mentioned a moment ago. The leadership and generosity from Susan and Laura Ferris have made a lasting impact here in our community. Susan Ferris has spent decades giving back through the organizations such as the Children's Medical Center, Salvation Army, and the Crystal Charity Ball. And in 2022, when she chaired the ball, Susan helped raise more than $9 million. She's also on the board of the Senior Source, and this year Susan and her family will serve as Grand Marshals for Easter in Turtle Creek Park. Her daughter Laura Ferris carries forward this legacy of service as well. She's Vice President of Events and Hospitality at Multiplier Agency, and she's overseen world-class events and major fundraising efforts. In 2024, she co-chaired the Cattle Barons Ball and raised a record-breaking $7.1 million for the American Cancer Society. Two pros that we are honored to have here helping us today. Laura now serves as the 2025 Crystal Charity Ball member, and she was most recently the underwriting chair for the eQuest Women's Auxiliary Luncheon and Fashion Show. She also co-chairs the Aware Affair next spring. They are very busy people, and we are glad to have them here today. Please welcome Susan and Laura Ferris.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, Diane, where are you? You started the crying. I'm a crier too, so I'm going to try not to. We're thrilled that you are here today with us for this special event, and Laura and I are so grateful for your support. A special thank you to my amazing and talented co-chair, Laura, who you heard happens to be my daughter. It's been a blessing working with you, truly. And I also want to go off script a minute and say thank you to the dedicated and hardworking staff at Forefront Living Foundation. It has been a joy to work with you all and get to know you. First, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to all who sponsored and underwrote this event, with special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Kathy and Bill Davis. Their continued support since 2016 has been invaluable, and we deeply appreciate their dedication over the past 9 years. In addition to Kathy and Bill, we are also grateful for these major sponsors: Robin and Don Conlin, Allison Doherty, Sam and Helga Feldman Foundation, David and Natalie Taylor, Gray Stone, and the Worsham family. Thank you for your partnership and support. Lastly, our amazing underwriters. Thank you to the Garden Gate. Junior, these flowers, as always, are amazing and beautiful. Thank you. Annette Simmons, Thomas Cuisine, Huntington National Bank, Marilyn and Richard Herman, and Sampac's 5-Star Ford Carrollton for helping make this successful event for our patients and their families. Let's take a moment to give them a round of applause and thank them for their generosity and support.
Faith Hospice is very close to both of our hearts, and we're eager to share the gift of hospice care with everyone. You'll often hear from those who have experienced the faith difference that while the services and facility are remarkable, it's the compassion and professionalism of the team that truly makes a difference. These are the real moment makers. Like my mom, I also believe deeply in their mission to make moments matter, which is why we agreed and are honored to chair this luncheon. The impact this organization has had on us is profound, and we're honored to share it with you today. They've shown us that the end of life is just as significant as the beginning. I want to ask you all to join us in supporting the Faith Caring Fund today with a gift. We are just short of our goal of $600,000 by about $37,000, so I'm going to challenge each one of you in here. We have about 500 people in here today. If each one of you makes a $100 gift, then we will far exceed our goal. You can do that there's a QR code on the back of your program, so you can scan that. There's also a card that you can fill out at your table. Additionally, the beautiful Garden Gate centerpieces are available for purchase. You can either take one home or also donate it to a hospice patient. We're going to make it very easy on you. If you purchase one, you can take it to the back to the giving trees, and we will box it up and put it in a bag so you can take it home with you. If you purchase the centerpiece and leave it on your table, it will be delivered and placed in a patient room at the T. Boone Pickens Hospice Center. I'd now like to introduce Tim Mallard, the CEO of Forefront Living, Faith Presbyterian Hospice parent company, to share a bit more.
Thank you. I was asked to say a few words and focus on a moment that mattered. Forefront Living, we meet every morning between 9 a.m. and 9:15 to talk about our mission, vision, and values, and moments that we've shared that exemplify those moments. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how close this hospice is, how close our mission is to the people we serve in our communities and to the people who work there. Two photos will be coming up here in a second, and I'll tell you a little bit about these gentlemen. The younger gentleman is Chris Songer, and some of you, if you can picture him with a hard hat on and a bright yellow vest, Chris oversaw construction for our organization for almost a decade. Chris was responsible for opening the T. Boone Pickens Hospice. He was very proud of the work that he did, and he was particularly proud if you go into one of the rooms and you notice that there's basically a head wall, and behind the head wall are all of the gases, and that the rooms there are designed to be residential. That was something Chris was so proud of. Little, I think, did Chris know that 7.5 years later he would be occupying one of those rooms. The gentleman next to him is John Luckadoo, a dear, dear friend of mine. John was our 2020 Each Moment Matters Luncheon speaker, and John also experienced the T. Boone Pickens Hospice. They happened to be together on the same day, and both situations, it was something that we did not expect, and I'll tell you a little bit how that works. And so many times in what I do, you get that call at 11 o'clock at night, and the call is, we need help right now. Well, these two calls came. Fortunately, I have a teammate, and she's somewhere out here, Joni Watson. And Joni can move mountains. Joni and the Faith Hospice team can make room and do things. And the picture you see here, I apologize for the way I'm dressed, but there's a story about this. So Chris and Lucky were there the same day. I got the call that Lucky was in hospice. It was a Sunday night about 9 o'clock. and I was not dressed in work clothes, and I don't even remember. I remember getting in the car and flying out of the driveway and getting to the hospice because I was very worried. Lucky was 103 and a half. And I walked in, and I don't know what I had, all of the visions I think all of you might have when you hear somebody was admitted to the hospice on an emergency basis. I walked into a room, there's Lucky in bed, and next to him is a bottle of Johnny Walker Black. And he said, well, how good of you to come and visit. And he said, would you like to join me in a drink? So Lucky was a World War II bomber pilot. He talked a lot about his experiences. He always liked a good shot of scotch. And I'm like, well, Lucky, I don't know. And he goes, well, you're off the clock. Join me. So the two of us had what was his last glass of scotch together. And I remember Joni was with me, and we walked down, and Chris was on the floor right below Lucky, and he was sleeping and went in and said goodbye. He passed away just a couple of hours later, but Chris passed away with soft music, with a massage from the massage therapist. Lucky, actually, as his goal was, he got out of hospice. He went back home because his residence at PVN had been redecorated while he was off on a speaking tour, and he had not seen it, and he was determined to see the new paint and carpeting. But Lucky was back a week later, and Lucky also passed away again, and it was a beautiful story. He was a fighter, and it was really the violinist that came in, that spent the time with Lucky, that eased him to the next phase in his next adventure. So when you look at T. Boone Pickens Hospice, and you look at the teammates that I work with here and the things that they do, I want you to think about these two gentlemen and how close this world is. So thank you. Jason, I believe you're next.
Tim, thanks for sharing those, just two of so many stories. I knew Lucky as well, so it was just it was great you were able to be there with him. As you enjoy your meal here, we do want to share some photos of moments that you made possible this last year. So please enjoy, and we'll return in about 10 minutes.
Every moment of our lives is a precious gift, a gift that's given, no strings attached. Each breath we breathe, each hand we lift is a chance to love, to give it back. When time feels heavy and hearts feel torn, remember why we all were born. To cherish love, to lift the load, to plant the seeds and let them grow. Every moment matters. Cherish the gift of love. Cherish the gift of life. Every moment matters. Let your heart rise above. Give the gift of love. 'Cause every moment matters. When we are down, love lifts us high. When we feel weak, hope helps us try. In quiet acts and words we speak, love flows through the strong and meek. Our lives are filled with opportunity to love in truth and word and deed. It's ours to give, don't wait to start. Every act of love restores a heart. Every moment matters. Cherish the gift of love. Cherish the gift of life. Every moment matters. Let your heart rise above. Give the gift of love. 'Cause every moment matters. So give a smile, a helping hand. Be the one who understands in these moments that remain. Let love be what you give.
All right, to keep us on time here, I'm going to come back a couple minutes early, but please continue the lunch as well, though. I want to return to our program and talk about the Faith Caring Fund. You know, it provides charitable care, children's grief support, as we mentioned, end-of-life therapies, and specialized in clinical inpatient services. But a very special part of this is something called Faithful Wishes. And this is a program that fulfills end-of-life wishes for Faith Presbyterian Hospice patients. These wishes have included weddings, celebrations, and other deeply meaningful moments. In fact, if you were here with us last year, I recognize a lot of faces. You might remember that we granted a faithful wish at this very luncheon. We gave Steve the Sleeve Schneiderman his final wish, which was a standing ovation, and Tim led that up here. So thank you for making that possible as well. Let's welcome back Laura and Susan to the stage in the middle of lunch. Sorry about that, ladies.
Hope you all enjoyed lunch. This Each Moment Matters luncheon, imagined 16 years ago, was created to bring that title to light, to honor not only the individual contributions of one or two, but showcasing how the collective contributions impact the world around us. Here are our 2025 Each Moment Matters honorees.
Frances Harrison. Frances Harrison is an entrepreneur, community advocate, and co-founder of the Compass School of Texas, an innovative Dallas school blending academic rigor with holistic enrichment to cultivate well-rounded, future-ready students. Inspired by a family legacy of philanthropy, Frances champions education, the arts, and civic engagement. Her early work with Operation Smile and her company, Conscious Cultures, LLC, reflect her commitment to service, cultural understanding, and entrepreneurship. Through Compass and her ongoing community involvement, Frances continues to shape a stronger, more compassionate future for Dallas. Isaiah Stanback. Isaiah Stanback is a former NFL wide receiver, Super Bowl champion, and 2023 Lone Star Regional Sports Emmy winner for Best Sports Analyst. A 6-year NFL veteran with the Giants, Patriots, and Cowboys, he is now a respected analyst, entrepreneur, keynote speaker, and community advocate. Isaiah founded Steadfast Fitness and Performance in North Dallas and serves on educational and philanthropic boards, including Coppell ISD, Union Gospel Mission, and RISE, mentoring youth and promoting equity. Recognized by Forbes and Entrepreneurship, Isaiah combines leadership, resilience, and purpose to inspire positive change both on and off the field. Natalie and David Taylor. The philanthropic legacy of Sam and Helga Feldman, whose vision and generosity transformed countless lives, continues with Natalie and David Taylor. Longtime supporters of the Forefront Living Foundation, Natalie and David extend their generosity to healthcare, children's programs, food insecurity, and the arts. Through steadfast involvement and thoughtful giving, they honor the Feldman legacy and exemplify the very best of Dallas philanthropy. Clarice Tinsley. For more than 4 decades, Clarice Tinsley has been a defining voice in Dallas-Fort Worth journalism, serving as Fox 4's award-winning evening news anchor and reporter and earning some of the industry's highest honors, including a Peabody Award, multiple Emmys, and induction into the NABJ Hall of Fame. Beyond her groundbreaking reporting, Clarice is deeply committed to education and community service, supporting literacy, mentoring future journalists, and uplifting organizations across Dallas, leaving a lasting legacy of excellence and impact. Marty Turco. Canadian-born hockey legend Marty Turco is celebrated not only for his remarkable career as one of the greatest goaltenders in Dallas Stars history, including 11 NHL seasons, 3 All-Star selections, and multiple franchise records, but also for his enduring impact off the ice. Through philanthropic work with the Dallas Stars Foundation, Stick with Reading, and adaptive sports programs, as well as entrepreneurial ventures like Kingsville Brewing Company and Turco 35 Brews and Bites, Marty continues to inspire, lead, and strengthen his community. Sarah and David Vabora. Sarah and David Vabora co-founded the Adaptive Training Foundation, ATF, a Dallas-based nonprofit providing free, customized physical and mental training for individuals with life-altering disabilities. David, a retired NFL linebacker, discovered his purpose after a career-ending injury, inspiring him to help others, beginning with U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Travis Mills, a quadruple amputee. Since earning 501c3 status in 2014, ATF has transformed thousands of lives. Through the work of ATF, David and Sarah are redefining what is possible. 1 rep, 1 breakthrough, and 1 life at a time. 2025 EMM Business Honoree Clifton Larson Allen, CLA. CLA exemplifies what it means to invest deeply in community. Through the CLA Foundation, which is funded solely by its team members, the firm has granted over $13 million since 2015 to expand career opportunities across the country. CLA's commitment goes beyond giving. They create meaningful impact by engaging their time, talent, and resources to support diverse organizations focused on education, employment, and entrepreneurship. Let's give a round of applause to this distinguished group of honorees.
Over the past few months, we've been recognizing each of our distinguished honorees. We are excited that you have the opportunity to meet them today in person. Would all of the 2025 Each Moment Matter Luncheon honorees please stand so we can recognize you and applaud you. What an amazing group of community leaders and servants. We deeply appreciate your selfless contributions to make our world a better place. Thank you so much.
Today, we invite you to join us in providing dignified and compassionate end-of-life care. Together, we can ensure that even more lives are touched by this meaningful work. If you're a guest of someone here today, please consider making a gift in their honor. Simply scan that QR code on the back of your program to make a contribution to the Faith Caring Fund or purchase one of the beautiful table arrangements from the Garden Gate. If you prefer paper, giving cards are on your tables for your convenience, so once completed, you may secure your card, just put it in your table number stanchion. Let's please work together to reach our $600,000 goal and continue fulfilling our mission of making each moment matter. Now I will turn it back over to Jason.
Congratulations again to the honorees this year. It's fantastic to hear those stories. This afternoon, we're also honored to have another extraordinary individual with us here today. The actor Joe Lando is in Dallas with us this afternoon. He's the keynote speaker for the 2025 Each Moment Matters Luncheon. And Lando's distinguished career spans television and film. Many of you here likely know him. He's best known for his role as Byron Sully on the popular television show Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, back in the 1990s. Joe first gained attention, though, as Jake Harrison on the soap opera One Life to Live. He's also appeared in numerous television productions, including Guiding Light, Higher Ground, and The Secret Circle. His film credits include Seeds of Doubt and No Code of Conduct. He's frequently reunited with his Dr. Quinn co-star Jane Seymour, and most recently, they co-starred together in the Lifetime 2022 holiday film A Christmas Spark. Yesterday, Joe toured the T. Boone Pickens Hospice Center in Presbyterian Village North to see this mission in action. And this afternoon, we are grateful to have him here with us. So please welcome Joe and Tim Mallett to the stage. Tim's going to lead the conversation. This is about Joe's loss in the recent Southern California wildfires.
Thanks, Jason.
Welcome, Joe Lando.
Thank you.
I think you may have noticed, I'll tell you a little bit about maybe why I'm sitting here asking some questions. Joe and I have a mutual friend. I met her on an airplane. You met her on horseback a long time ago. And when the California fires occurred, Jane Seymour was very encouraging of Joe to tell his story and to talk about what happened. Joe is here today to share that with everyone. Joe, actually, you and I were in California a few months ago. It was the first time that we talked through some of these items. I was able to moderate a panel with Joe and Jane. It was really fascinating. While we were gathering for the luncheon today, we were talking to an individual that was a guest of the Davises, and she made the comment, it's so good that you're talking about this long after the fires. And so often when you have a significant event, when you have a loss, a tremendous loss, there's so much happening in those days during it and immediately after, and there's so many people around, but it's the time afterwards that sometimes is the most important. I know Joe is going to be talking to us today about that. Joe, I'll begin our conversation first with you and Jane, because that relationship that I believe began on the Dr. Quinn set, maybe on a river bank, many years later proved to be a vital part of the story. So can you tell us a little bit about how that all began, and then we'll talk more about other items?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. I went to the facility yesterday, and the work that these people do it's God's work, and they do it so gracefully and beautifully, and I was really touched. As you know, I feared coming here today and talking about this so much because it's been really difficult, and if I can somehow bring some closure or a beginning of that for somebody out there who has a heavy heart like I do, that's my mission here, to give back something. And we have this mutual friend, Jane Seymour, who I met 34 years ago on the set of Dr. Quinn. I had been cast first, and I was busy working in New York, and the director said, you know, come on home, we found Dr. Quinn, and he wouldn't tell me who the actress was, but I was very excited when I went to the set that day, and there was this woman in her period costume coughing up a storm, sitting there in her chair, because anytime Jane gets sick, it becomes a bronchial thing. That's her Achilles heel. And we met one another and quickly became friends on the show, and did 6, almost 7 years of Dr. Quinn. It was some of the best times of my life. I was a young man, and all of a sudden experiencing some really incredible things, you know. I worked hard to get to where I was, and I was learning a ton from Jane, and all the time her work ethic and the fact that she's such a a person that sticks by you through thick and thin. I've always been like that. That's the way I was raised, and I respect that in Jane, and I love her dearly because, well, I'll tell you in a little bit, but what happened, later on.
So as Joe and I were preparing for this, we've talked quite a bit. One of the things that you said to me was actually last weekend. We were talking about the fires, we were talking about the aftermath, and Joe said if I could just go back to the day before.
Yeah.
And that really stayed with me, because I think when you've had loss, you don't know you're about to have loss. Our mission is to make each moment matter, to be in the moment. We're going to talk about the day before the fires. We're going to talk about January 6th. Do you want to tell us about what life was like then?
Yeah, January 6th was like any day in the Palisades, just another day in paradise. I thought at 63 years old, I had figured it all out. After decades of planning, and I'm a planner, I thought I had all my ducks in a row. My kids were healthy, they were thriving. My wife and I were having a wonderful time together. Everybody was in a good place. In the Palisades, we had a saying, if you are rich, you live in Beverly Hills. If you are famous, you live in Malibu. And if you're lucky, you live in the Palisades. Sorry. I've been dreading this moment because of this, but I also know it's therapeutic for me to do this, because I have to get this off my chest, and I have to say that I just spent 6 weeks in Ireland away from my family for the first time. I've been on location a million times. I've been doing this for 40 years, but I always had the opportunity to come back home. And this time I didn't. I'm sorry. So I just, I have to get this off my chest. I realized when I was in Ireland that I couldn't do it myself. I was having anxiety attacks. I just wouldn't call them that, but it felt like having a heart attack one night, and I realized I have to get myself past this. I have to find, that light at the end of the tunnel. And I called my wife up the next day, and I said, I need help. This is, taking its toll on my physical well-being as well as my mental well-being. So I guess my first thing is to say that, never be ashamed to say you need help. My father raised me as a man who wasn't supposed to cry, and I'm not doing very well with that, Dad, but I hope you forgive me, and I hope you all forgive me for just being a little weak at this moment, but...
Well, we appreciate the courage, Joe.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy, but I'm turning the corner, and being here in front of you is helping me. Whether you believe it or not, it is. And I just know that there's got to be a lot of heavy hearts in this room, too. You've had your share of tragedy. You don't get hair my color without having some scars from life. And I feel for you all. I know there's been some terrible things that have happened lately, and I think I understand. And I just want to be able with Tim to tell you some of my story and see some of what happened, because I'm not alone in my neighborhood.
If we go back to that day before, I think we had some photos, and I think the very first photo may have been of the Lando family. Would you like to introduce them to us?
Let's see
if they pop back up here.
Boom.
That's not a Lando, that's me.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Oh, this ironically, the photos I was taking here was for the insurance company, because they just dropped us 6 weeks before the fire. Thank you, Allstate. This is a photo that we lost in the fire, but someone had a picture of this photo. My daughter went around as she was leaving the house for the last time and snapped some pictures, and that's me with dark hair. My daughter, Kate, my wife, Kirsten, my son, William. In the back there's Christian, and in the front is Jack. They now their ages from 18 to 27, Jack being the oldest, and William in front there is a big muscular dude going to San Diego State now. He just left for college. My daughter still lives with us, and my beautiful wife. That was in better days in Aspen.
I think our next photos are back of the house. We talked about, and I think when they come back up, You'll notice a very green lawn. There's a little bit of a story behind that, and this is just before the fires, I believe.
Yes, in April, I think that picture was taken in April, we had floods that had hit our house earlier, months earlier, flooded the downstairs, flooded my office and everything else, and months of putting it back together, because I learned after being an actor for so long that idle time can get actors in trouble. So I always made sure that I learned how to do things like, see the stonework on that chimney? I helped do that, and I built the balcony railing, and I did the front lawn, and after the flood happened, we put the house back together. Then my wife called me up. I was on location, said, the gas company just turned off our gas because we have a major gas leak all over the front yard. And so they had just ripped up my whole lawn, and that went on for a couple of weeks. We didn't have any gas or anything like that. And you can see I'd been seeding like crazy to try to get the lawn back, because my mother was going to visit on Mother's Day, I believe. And I saw this picture with those God lights coming up behind the house. Now, it wasn't a mansion by any means, but it was our home for 24 years. I raised my kids there. It was quite a tight community, and God, I miss it. It was beautiful, I think.
So you're living in the Palisades. Life is beautiful and lucky. You have a new lawn, a very green lawn, thanks to your hard work. A beautiful home. You wake up on the morning of January 7th.
January 7th was another beautiful day. I woke up with a headache that I usually get when the winds are blowing, Santa Ana winds. And I texted my wife at work, because she worked 3-4 days a week managing a bakery just a couple miles away. And, you know, a lot of wives would be embarrassed, oh, I'm not going to go to work at this kind of place and see people that I see every day in the community. But my wife loved it. She loved just being there and working with the people she did, and serving the folks that live in our area. And, you know, I texted her that I have a headache, and she said, oh, sorry, honey, blah, 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 it's because of the wind. And I said, I sure hope someone doesn't do something stupid today. And by that I meant light a match, because we were going to have these incredible winds, unlike we've ever had before. And sure enough, somebody did, and my whole world was turned upside down in a day. My great plan of what I was going to do with the rest of my life, I was going to buy a little motorhome and spend some money on me, because I always just did it for the family. But I was going to get this cool little motorhome, and my wife and I were going to tour the country for the next couple of years. I have macular degeneration, so I know I'm losing my eyesight gradually, and I only have a finite amount of time to drive around and do this plan. So that was my plan, and that all changed drastically. Like I said, I thought I had my ducks in a row. I thought I knew everything about the future for the most part, and it just changed drastically that day.
You know, I happen to be, as you know, in California that morning myself, and if you're there and you're around folks that are, this is not a unique thing that there's a potential of fire. I think there's a drill, and I saw the drill where I was. You do certain things when you think there's a potential for a fire. Can you talk where your mindset was there and what you were doing to prepare for what probably in your mind was not going to happen?
No, you never accept that this is going to happen. You prepare for it. Like, we had an exit plan, and if anything went wrong at my house, we'd go down to my in-laws' house, which was just a mile down the street towards the bluffs, where the wind always blows on shore, so fires never even come close to their place. A couple of fires have burned around my house, and you just have a quick exit plan, throw some clothes in there. But on this day, with the wind, we just didn't think right. I mean, we just didn't prepare. I called Jane Seymour and said, hey, if the winds happen, the fire had just come to her door a month before. And I said, if anything happens, come to me, come to my house. I'm about 15 minutes down the road. And you know, she said, okay, we're getting our stuff ready in case we have to leave. And at around noon, the wind started changing direction. And by 1 o'clock noon, I think, is when I called my wife, and I said, I think you should come home and get out of the area you are. And she did, and she came home right away, and she took some of these photos. I know the one on the left is right around noon. The fire was coming across the canyon, and when the fire went from white to black, the black is when it started hitting the houses that were across the canyon. And then this fire that you see coming over the mountaintop, there was chaos just on the street. There was only 3 ways to get out of my neighborhood, and everybody was panicking. There was a nursing home right in center town where they were trying to get people out of, and everyone just was gridlock. So all my neighbors were on the street, and only 22 people lived on Charm Acres. My address was 1111 Charm Acres Place. You know, it sounded like a fairy tale kind of a deal, but they all were on the street looking at the fire or the smoke, and I said, I'm going to ride into the canyon because you couldn't get anywhere in your cars. And I took my bike, I rode into the canyon where I'd walked the dogs that morning, and I saw this fire come over the mountain. And it came over the mountain as fast as anybody could run down the mountain. It sounded like sheets being shook out. And I rode back, and everyone's waiting on the street, and I said, just run, go. You know, you got to go.
We have a video, I believe, that we can share that you filmed.
That's my son, Christian, and we hosed the house down in the neighbor's house for 6 hours. Everyone's left at this point.
Getting close. You can hear stuff popping now.
Things were
Boom,
exploding
boom.
in my neighborhood
Hear
at this
that?
point.
Ooh.
And that's how the street existed. This is when I realized everything was done. I went in my bathroom upstairs and filmed that. That's not the sun, that's an apartment building burning. There's the sun. And there was a gas station in between the sun and that building that exploded later on. It's exploding now, I can hear it. Yeah. Oh, no. I'll miss your house. Yeah, I miss you, home. This is my wife evacuating, going to the in-laws' house. That all the black smoke, I'm in at that point where it's black, and it went from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to just total darkness. You couldn't see, but 20 feet in front of you. That's the picture with the stop sign is my wife driving towards her parents' house and our house disappearing in the distance. And that American flag, that was in town. The town that's not there anymore. She took a picture of that as she was leaving against the light of the fire. And that was it. Then everything just disappeared. That's my address, 1111. All that was left in my home is the doorway. Ironically, it's all gone. And my wife knew where she had left her grandmother's ring that morning when she washed her hands. She put it in this little bowl in our bathroom, and she was determined to find that thing. And I was like, it's not going to be there. There's nothing left, honey. And I, really discouraged anybody digging around in the ash. It's all so toxic. But she found it and found my dad's pinky ring. My dad was Italian, and he was given this when he was 19 by his father for becoming a man. And I never wore it, but I had it because this is one of the few things I have, and the only thing I have of his now. My wife found this too. And this is the fireplace that stood in my in-laws' house that we would have every Christmas dinner and tea around, and that's all that was left of their house. I rode away from my house on my bike, and I went there because I was convinced in my mind that the house was going to survive. Their house would make it. But by the time I got there, they had already evacuated, and it had been my son, Christian, who kept insisting towards the end, we got to go, Dad, we got to go. And I kept saying, you go down to Go-Go and Papa's, that's what Grandma and Grandpa are called. Go down there, and I'll meet you. And he's like, Dad, they already left there. The fire was closing in around us like a horseshoe, and the area to get out of was getting smaller and smaller. My son knew that, but I was just in denial, and I kept telling him, go. And he finally said, I won't leave without you. And I didn't want to go. And last time we were together on a stage like this, we were sitting with a psychiatrist who asked me afterwards, why wouldn't you leave? Why were you so hell-bent on staying? And I realized, and I answered her very quickly, because I didn't even know this answer existed in my head, but I said, it would be easier to stay here and go down with the fire in the house than to face, what was coming. This, being here today, having to tell my story, but having to think about, what am I going to do with my kids? What am I going to do with the rest of life? I knew everything around us was going, and it just seemed a hell of a lot easier just to stay. But thankfully, my son wouldn't leave. Yeah. Then I wouldn't let anything happen to him, of course, so I left. We got out of there. I've been through wildfires. I've been in a hurricane in Carolinas. I grew up in the Midwest. I know what tornadoes look like. I've been in earthquakes and riots while I was in LA, but I'd never seen anything like this. This was fire and a tornado and everything happening at the same time, and all the electric cars were blowing up first, and then the gas cars, you could hear it was a difference. And the smell was incredible. We had 2 N95 masks on and ski goggles and a hose that 2 hoses. We just kept hosing everything down.
Well, Joe, last night we were talking about, what goes through your mind. And, there is a routine. There are documents and things that you save, and you pack things away. And you were faced at the very end with everything, and knowing everything in your home is going to be lost. And Joe, very close family, close with your mother and your grandparents. And in this case, if you're Polish, there's a word, busha, and busha means grandmother. And you opened your closet, and there was something of your bushas in there that I believe you have with you today. That you just happened to
she had... when my grandmother passed away, I was very close with her, and she always hung out with me. I was an Italian-Polish kid growing up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood, and there was a lot of fights. And I didn't have a lot of close friends for a while there, but my busha was my go-to. She taught me how to cook. She taught me how to sew. She taught me to plant flowers and just appreciate life. She came to the United States at 14 years old, didn't speak English, all by herself, so I always modeled myself after her. I wanted to be strong like she was. And after she passed away, I took her rose white sewing machine, which was one of those sewing machines you run with your feet, and her rocking chair that I rocked all my kids in, because she had rocked her children and her grandchildren and never had a chance to meet mine, but they met through that rocking chair. You can't take that stuff. And something happens to you when this kind of situation is happening. I call it brain simple. You don't know what to do, what to take, because everything's so precious. I looked around, and I couldn't carry the chair, and I couldn't carry the sewing machine, and I really couldn't think of much else to do. I was starting to have a panic attack, so I went into the closet. I opened up the drawer, and I took out a spool of thread. This is all I have, but I carry it every time I go anywhere. It's just, you do things like that, you just don't know what else to do. And I'm glad I did that, because like anything else, I finally come to grips with, I don't have these physical things anymore, but thank God I have the memories. And with that, you go on. With that, you build your future, My mother used to always tell me, and I had some good times and bad while she was alive, but she was like, don't dwell on anything, Joe. Whether it's good or bad, whether you're having a terrible day or everything's going really well, because this too shall pass. And I know people are sitting out there with heavy hearts, or you're having a really great day, and I mostly want to appeal to the people who are having a hard time. This too shall pass. I know I could be much worse off than this. I know that every day, and sometimes that doesn't help, but I'm starting to get better, and I'm going to seek help when I haven't had a lot of time. I just spent 6 weeks in Ireland, then here for, back in the States for a couple days, and I can come here, and then I'm going to another job. I'm going to be gone a month, but my wife's coming with, and kids are going to visit, so it's going to be a different story. But I just now have turned the corner, and I have an affirmation that I used to put up one a long time ago that got me to the place where I was, and now I needed a new one, and I don't memorize it because I'm an actor and I can memorize things, but I keep it written down so that I have to read it, and it's on the mirror in front of me every morning. It says, all is well. Everything is working out for your highest good. And out of this situation, only good will come. I am safe. And I read that every morning. And believe it or not, despite this, what you're seeing right now, this mess, I am getting better. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm thankful to be here with you. And again, I'm apologizing for this. I don't mean to bring you down, because this is a good thing.
Well, as we conclude, I think there's a lot of irony, because as you offered refuge to Jane and her family, something else happened instead.
On January 8th, we had all scattered to the wind. It was hard to find any place to sleep or any place to live. 9,000 people all of a sudden lost their homes, and they were all in the same boat that I was. And Jane called me, and actually called my wife and said, come here, come to my house. So 7 of us, 2 dogs, 2 birds, all moved to Jane's house for 7 weeks. You know, and fish and visitors, what happens after 3 days. But she let us be there despite everything, and so gracious. And had a big enough house. We lived downstairs, and she was upstairs. And, you know, it was tough the first few days at her house. The first 2 weeks, she didn't have electricity or gas, so it was a lot of cold showers. And I cooked breakfasts for everybody on this little camping stove that I happened to have in my truck that was still in the box. And so for 7, 9 people, whoever were there, I cooked breakfast, eggs from the garden in the backyard where the chickens live, and that was our refuge for 7 weeks. I didn't have to worry about where my family was going to sleep, and my in-laws were there for a little bit too. But yeah, thank God for Jane, you know, and friends like that.
And just as we, you know, complete our discussion, I'll share with everyone the first time we had this discussion, Joe, you actually still didn't have clothes that belonged to you. You had clothes that were sent, and we were preparing for the discussion and picked up the phone and we were talking. And I remember the conversation, and I don't know if you remember this. You said, it's a great day. I have a dining room table. Yeah. I have a table that my family can sit around, because by that point in time you had found your new housing, your own housing outside of Jane's. And I thought a lot about that table and why that was so important to you and to your family.
Yeah, I brought it up more than once to you, and I didn't remember that, but our table, our kitchen table, is just a symbol of our togetherness, of being a family. And you know, all the great celebrations we had around it, and I was excited. Jane's son had a table he didn't want, and I went over and picked it up and put it in our dining room, and now we have a place to sit down again and celebrate birthdays and to celebrate the holidays that are coming up. And it's just that family togetherness, you know. The fireplace that you saw in the picture is being represented here. That was a great place to be and be together. And I'm sure you all have something like that in your home or with your family. And really appreciate those things. Really count your blessings. I know it's a cliche, but it's so important, because tomorrow you don't know what tomorrow holds. My tomorrow holds a lot of positive things. You know, my life is starting over again. I'm wearing my own clothes. You know, it was so embarrassing for me to show up to that thing that night, because I hadn't bought anything, and I went to go buy myself some new clothes, and I just couldn't do it. All I managed to come out with was a pair of Adidas shoes. And I showed up, and nobody cared, and I didn't care. I told Jane I was going to be at this event a while before, and I didn't want to go, but I have to honor what I said. And so I showed up, and I'm glad I did that. You know, again, it was a turning point to not be embarrassed by the way you look or how you haven't gotten your act together yet. You know, I felt okay, you know, and that was important to me.
Well, Joe, I think a question I would have for you is very hard to talk about when you're on this end of things, where you want to help someone. You've seen something happen. We had these terrible floods in Texas that were cataclysmic. Everybody wants to do something, often very nervous and afraid to approach someone. What can we do? What would you recommend when you are around someone who's perhaps had this type of loss?
Everybody would say, I'd look at my friends in the face and they'd be like, I don't know what to say, Joe. And I'd be like, I don't know what to say either. I don't know what I would say if I was in your shoes other than give me a hug. Let me know you're there if I need someone to speak to, talk to. And God, my friends have been so gracious with that. My wife has been the rock. The only time I saw her cry was when I said, finally I'd agreed to, maybe we'll rebuild in 3 years. We'll go back. And she was just so excited to hear that, because prior to that, I want to black that out. I don't want to remember that night, that day, that PTSD is there, and but I'm getting better. I'm getting past all this, and thankfully, Tim has made me do this, but I'm thankful.
Well, we're thankful too, Joe Lando, and thank you for being open, for being transparent. I think discussions like this help us all. Thank you for joining us today at the Each Moment Matters Luncheon, and thank all of you as well.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Good. Good job.
Joe, powerful testimony there. I'm so glad your family's safe. You're on the road to recovery too. Our prayers are with you. Like you said, everyone in this room has been touched by something, and yours being so recent. Can't imagine what you're going through. But we do appreciate you being here, you flying into Dallas, Fort. I know you have to get to the airport here shortly too, and want to thank you guys for being here as well today. We hope you've been inspired, hearing from Joe, seeing the photos, hearing from Finley and Harper on video, the two little kids who lost their mom as well. And we hope you more fully understand that moments created at the end of life can be just as powerful as those at the beginning of life. Before you leave, don't forget to scan the QR code in the back of your program there on the table, or make a donation, or purchase one of these centerpieces there on the tables for $75. We'll make sure those get to the rooms for the hospice patients as well. So thank you for being here this afternoon. Safe travels to you.
Every moment of our lives is a precious gift, a gift that's given, no strings attached. Each breath we breathe, each hand